joyful noise.
Wait,
What is it?
tilt your tub down.
No, thank you. That's how it's going to be. Oh,
Oh, is that a gym?
what's a gym?
Tilt your tub down.
Tilt your tub down.
No, thank you.
No,
That's how it's going to be.
what's going on?
Oh, I emulate and equal Jesus. That was an affirmation I liked from Ellen Cohen.
Oh, good.
That's why I said Jesus as a reminder.
Hey, everybody out on YouTube land. We're just getting warmed up.
We're
here.
on YouTube.
Oh,
Okay, let me turn off that volume there. Great.
Are you excited for the art show today, Steven?
yes, very. I'm nervous.
Well, I told Ed about the experience
Have you ever been, Stevie?
at the Exchange Club.
Yeah, Darrell spoke at Tony P's this week.
Yeah, Tony Palumbo's.
And it was the Exchange Club of Culver City. Which,
One of Bib's favorite restaurants.
how could he eat there?
Coupons.
Oh,
He probably
because-
likes the turkey burger.
Yeah, I wouldn't confidently
Recommend a turkey burger.
no anything there. I think it's just tired. Do you know when like a place gets tired?
Yeah, it's been there a while. I'm sure it had a heyday when it was popping off in the
Well, it was
marina.
Charlie Brown's when I first moved to Marina Del Rey. Do you remember Charlie Brown's?
My mind just goes to the fact that when you used to wear that yellow shirt on the hill, you used to look like Charlie Brown. I remember that thing.
A lot of people thought I was like Charlie Brown as a child.
That is a compliment for a cartoonist like yourself. All right, let's get started, shall we? Let's have Steven Tom shut off the camera and such.
Don't do the slurping in the mic.
Let's baptize this show a success.
It is.
Let's hit record on the audio, and we'll see you soon, Steven Tom Thorpe.
Okay.
But make sure you could hear us. You know how
Do I
to.
have to do anything with on my end about like speaker view?
Yeah, you got to just no. All you need to do is mute both items until we call you back. But you'll be able to hear us.
Hello, Susan Hodgson, Barbara Weatherman out there, Canada, Florida.
Who's in Canada? Hodgkins.
Susan Hodgson, and they're with us right now, amongst others. Maybe my wife is watching. Rods, I saw him at the sauna last night. He said he might be tuning in.
Well, I thought he was up at his mom's.
Yeah, but he said he might be listening on the way.
Oh, he's driving.
Watching, listening.
He's driving to what town is that?
Ventura or Oxnard or
Yes,
Oxnard.
Snard.
Hey, we could still hear you. All right, so you ready?
That's an emphasis on the snard. All right, let's get it going.
Welcome to The Funniest Thing.
Yep.
Where each week we share stories about how stepping out boldly always leads to better than expected outcomes.
That's right.
I'm Darrell.
I'm Ed.
And we are broadcasting live from Culver, Middle School Studios in Culver City, the heart of Screenland.
Aren't you happy to be in the middle school studios again?
Yeah, one of our previous guests,
Johnny Marfa,
saw me this morning while I was walking Gidget, and he was even excited we were over here now.
Right on. Well, we have a great show today. Today's show is called The Secret to Happy and Successful Living with none other than actor Steven Tom Thorpe, who we will be attending Krista McAvena's art show with later in the day. But for now, the secret to happy and successful living is so simple and so easy to dismiss that it is often overlooked. Simply put, it is to let go and act on divine inspiration. Whoa, Glenn Brewster's calling right now. To do this, we must get into the habit of thinking bigger, not smaller. At the start of your day, commit to choosing to experience the day as new and fresh with possibilities. Yes, that's so good. Expect unexpected blessings as you see yourself going through your day. This is practicing the presence of God wherever you go, letting go of old, worn out, limiting aspirations and letting God guide your way is a dynamic process that allows you to keep moving in the direction of your heart's desires while remaining open to other directions that may be better. On this episode, Darrell and Ed discuss how putting God first enables us to live happily and successfully, effortlessly. That's a great combination. And during the second segment, actor Steven Tom Thorpe shares how putting this into practice has brought incredible opportunities, enables him to trust his untried capacity with today's reading, A New Start by Joyce Kramer. We are excited to be back.
Yes, well, we're going to first kick it off with the antithesis of the secret to happy and successful living, which is a trap we all can and most do at times fall into. But once we realize this, then we have the motivation to snap ourselves out of it. And this is from a morning reader called God Grant Me. It's one of those little daily readers we recommend. And this was actually from February 29th, which we did not celebrate this year. But I read it anyway, folks.
You little devil.
We miss many chances because we don't see them. Well, why do we not see them? It is very easy, and here's the reason. It is very easy to stop learning. We get into habits of doing things the same old way. When we stick with what we already know, we stop growing. Our world and our life get very small. We get stuck. We get left behind. We give up our power to be free.
That's perfect. I told you on the way here, I even switched up what I was doing, the process of, so I didn't come here, go to the same pizza place, use the same restroom, grab the pizza slices, put the same,
sit at the same table while you wait for the slices.
I took a different direction. I ate my slice on the way over. Just anything to change it up. And the other day I woke up thinking, maybe I'll surf before school. I needed to just clear my brain of the whole school thing. But I woke up, I felt like that would be rushing to try to do that. But I just couldn't do the same,
drive down the same road,
stand up, do this, and then go to the shower, and then everything just. So I ended up kind of meeting in the middle. I said, you know what? I'm just going to drive down to the beach, just take a little walk, up this grass hill, just do anything different, and just totally. It was amazing because it literally opened up a part of my brain that was getting closed and so just caught up in the same, because there are avenues in our brain of thought, right? Like these ruts, these grooves in our consciousness. So it's sometimes you got to go in a different direction. And that's kind of what the show is about, trusting the inspired idea. Because even me, I had ideas of, maybe I'll surf and this, but then I was doing my morning routine and I realized, look, I don't want to rush to surf. That's not going to do it either. That's going to be the same kind of feeling. So instead, I just took a few minutes at the beach, changed my mind around, and then got started with my day. And then because I did that, then the rest of the day I was like, you know what? How am I going to do this a little different? How can I do this a little different? And that kept me open to God's inspiration.
Yes, it doesn't even have to be something dramatic. When I was in the service, they suggested we learn to do things different by if you put on your pants, right leg first, why don't you try tomorrow putting them on left leg first?
That's right.
If you brush your teeth habitually with your right hand, why don't you try it with your left hand just for tomorrow? And I am telling you, just doing a simple thing like that opens up it pops off the lid on a Tupperware that's been sealed too long in the refrigerator. Mm-hmm. And it's just
I thought you were going to say that hot Tupperware that you took to the conservatory. at that
Similar.
time.
It lets all the old gases out
Yes.
that are stuck in your brain doing the same thing. And during the course of the day, you'll see that you'll start receiving
Yes.
new ideas and exciting, inspired ideas, or an old desire that you had forgotten about will wake up just from doing this little exercise. And it's hard to do, especially if you're going to try the major one, which is taking a different way to work, because your brain's going, well, that way might take longer. But I am telling you, it's worth doing it. Steven, our guest, does it often on his drive to work, switches it up.
Yeah.
I always admire him for that.
Well, this is the metaphysical meaning of this Luke 16:10 I just looked up, which is whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much.
Yes.
So we start with the little things, and that will lead to the bigger things, because we start to see the principle at work, and then we're more inclined to take the bigger steps.
Well, it also it's also implying that by doing this, you actually invite bigger things into your life.
That's right.
New and bigger things.
And that goes, I'm sorry, but Zechariah 4:10 came up here too. It says, do not despise these small beginnings, for the law or the Lord rejoices to see the work begin.
Yeah.
So celebrate these little steps, and then they lead to bigger steps quickly. Like you said, they invite in these bigger steps.
That's funny, because at my talk, I read a quote that I just read this week, which is from Eric Fromm, which is, love is an act of faith, and he who has little faith has little love. Mm-hmm. And I added, therefore, starting is an act of love toward yourself. I wrote that to myself.
Totally.
Because if loving is an act of faith, and faith and love are synonymous, it takes a leap of faith to go in the direction of our intuition.
It's funny because you said that you read February 29th, and I was thinking every year is a leap year on Funniest Thing, because we're always encouraging you to take the leap of faith.
Yes. And that by every time we dismiss the little fears that get in the way because we're not sure how something's going to turn out, or we're not sure, or we dismiss it even before that by saying, oh, that was a silly idea. But just taking a small little step, a tiny little step in that direction is an act of love toward ourselves. Mm-hmm. And you feel it. You feel it. Yes. And even if it doesn't go further than that initial step of investigation, and you realize, okay, this really isn't a divinely inspired desire. Well, what that does is now it opens you up and allows because it clears away all these, these aspirations that aren't necessarily divinely desired. We could trick ourselves into thinking, getting excited about a job we think is, oh yeah, but then, we think, oh, this will be great.
Right.
I was doing that this week. I saw that they have teacher artists at the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. So I go, wow, that would be fun, because I do those workshops at the library. But then, so I just took the next little indicated action to discover, well, what is it really? And as soon as I saw what it would entail, I thought, wait, I didn't keep pushing myself. I said, okay, well, now I know this isn't for me. Mm-hmm. But that little act builds self-esteem and confidence within myself, because I'm not saying no to these inspired ideas immediately. Because there was a time in my life, if anyone said anything encouraging, or anyone, or even, okay, if an encouraging idea or encouragement about a desire of mine came, whether it came from outside from a friend or within myself, I would immediately say, yes, but.
Right.
Yes, but that'll be hard. Yes, but how do I get from there, from here to there? Now I don't do that as often. I rarely do that. And if I do it, it feels so bad
Yes.
that I let go of it. And that gets into what we're going to read here from Emmett Fox. If you have Around the Year with Emmett Fox, it's February 24. And if you don't have it, we highly recommend it. And this is making your own fortune, which is what this is all about. We heard when we get stuck in a rut doing the same old things. I mean, it's nice to have a routine. We have morning routines, but you can't make the routine then your higher power.
That's so true.
I get up at this time, I go here. It's nice to have a routine, but you got to allow God to have free play. And here we go. Making your own fortune. You think and your thoughts materialize as experience, and thus it is, all unknown to yourself as a rule, that you are actually weaving the pattern of your own destiny here and now by the way in which you allow yourself to think day by day, all day long. And here's the good news. First of all, you could change the direction of your thinking at any time.
Yes.
Your fate is largely in your own hands.
Yep.
Nobody but yourself can keep you down. Neither parents, nor wives, nor husbands, nor employers, nor neighbors, nor poverty, nor ignorance, nor any power whatever can keep you out of your own when you once have learned how to think.
Yes. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and I don't want people to think, oh no, I got to keep thinking about the good I want. No, because that's not what Emmett Fox is referring to. And if you read the few days before and the few days after, it's clearer. But the foundation really starts with we have the freedom to choose, and everything starts with our faith that it can be done or that it's possible within ourselves, within our own thoughts, or it stops immediately when we tell ourselves it can't.
Yes.
It can't be done, or it's too difficult.
This goes with what I heard. Remember from Shin,
Florence
from
Scovel
the
Sin.
Magic Path of Intuition.
Yes.
You were just talking about this because we can mistake like this fearful, overly discriminating, overly cautious voice for wisdom sometimes. If we've been listening to it for so long. And she says, and this is, I think, where the joy enters the picture, where this stuff needs to be lived joyfully. Because if we're looking at these things we're teaching and what Jesus taught, and we think that this is like a degree, an academic degree that we're earning, think again, because it's not that. It's something that is leading us to become more joyful like children and being willing to take inspired risks, so to speak. She says, if ruled by discrimination and caution, that's like fault finding, it will be wrapped up in that, regret, doubt. Yeah. Then you're not listening to your intuitive mind, which often sends you in a direction your reasoning mind rebels against. So, I mean, that right there. So if you're not listening to your reasoning mind, that's where we tap into the intuition, which is our joyful, childlike self that Jesus described, the kingdom of heaven within us, where we are actually free, prospering. We are here to be successful and enjoy the ride while we're here and share our good with others.
Yes, and it centers on, well, first of all, I want to say all this stuff, it's not a intellectual practice. Mm-hmm. It's a believing practice. It's not an intellectual program, it's a believing program. And everything we're saying about changing our minds is the secret to happy and successful living.
Yeah.
The foundation is humility. And humility, how is that going to bring success? Because humility means I'm letting go of my self-will, which is the one that has doubt, fear, and thinks it might need to scheme or manipulate things or
Yeah.
call the right people or, go to the right groups to network at.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, because it's coming from this false idea that we're on our own.
yeah.
So we're going to have to struggle.
Yes.
And like, even when in the groups, there's still the illusion that
Yes.
everyone's on their own. And that's why it feels bad.
And that's all born out of fear.
Yes.
That's all born out of fear, and anything out of fear carries the seed of its own destruction.
Because it's false evidence appearing real. I know that's such a cliche, but it helps me lately.
Yes.
Remember that fear is not scary devil. It's actually false evidence that appears to be real. Once I remember this is just false, it's so liberating.
So humility is the key to success, because now we're going to trust and believe that the joy in living and the joy in following inspired ideas takes a lot of humility, meaning I have to let go of how this should come about and wait for the direction to come from within or from without, the signs, and then have the faith, again, through humility, instead of going, no, we need to talk to more people about this. No, to have the faith and humility to trust that I'm under God's care and direction, which is what the word providence means.
Right.
And move in that direction.
And also, I want to say, when you're along with the last thing I want to tag on to that is also, for me, it's the humility. And this is where academic-minded people, the humility to be like, this whole feel-bad thing I'm thinking is wrong. It's not, it's false.
Yes.
I mean, that's something I work on all the time, is being, this is just a story I'm conjuring up. I don't know what to say first, and that stuff just gets me in more trouble. Just like being willing to laugh it off and let it go. And you're right, this feels terrible. I had a friend in college once, before I had learned all these tools, and I would get going down these pathways, and he would just go, this feels terrible. And I had to admit, you're right, this does. So I use that lately.
Yes.
This feels terrible. And just laugh it off and let it go. That's because as soon as we're willing to do that, that's humility. God comes rushing in.
Well, and some people might thinking, well, so, you shouldn't be prudent or concerned. I can't believe that everything that feels bad is false. But let me tell you something, folks. Cognitive behavioral therapy is founded on the idea and the premise that if you're ever feeling bad, the practice is you're feeling bad about something. Well, what is the thought that I'm having that's making me feel bad? And then it's discovering that those thoughts that make you feel bad are based on a lie.
Yeah.
And they fit under certain cognitive distortions: catastrophizing, regretting, blaming.
Yeah.
And it's centered on this truth. So to keep singing these horrible songs, and not have the humility to say, you know what, you're right.
Yeah.
This does feel bad. That's where, sometimes you try to help people, but if they don't want to be helped, they'll dig even more with anger about how you're wrong.
Right.
And they're right about feeling bad.
Right. And I was going to say, just like the stuff we talk about, the cognitive behavioral therapy gives you the tool to look at your own thinking so that you yourself can see that it's like, we could talk and talk and talk, but the beauty of this stuff, you apply these tools, I get to see for myself that those thoughts are just not accurate, and they never are. And I don't need to convince anyone else, because I'm just thankful that they are, so that I can let myself off the hook and live a joyful life and be successful, and realize that all the people that we admire that are really successful are doing the same thing.
Yes, and humility means you're able to trust intuition, a higher faculty.
Oh, dude,
What?
You said prudent, and I just looked up what the origin is. It's like this, to foresee or to see in the future. That actually is intuition. It's gotten just like so many things we learn about, it's got a bad name, because it actually means to trust your intuition.
Yeah, but it's got turned into being
the fear got its
rigid
hands on it. Yeah,
just touching the ice with your toe.
Yeah.
So Humility. I'm going to read something here from another book. It's I'm going to read the quote. This is actually a book they use in the Al-Anon program. And it says here, humility prepares us for the realization of God's will for us. That means we're open now to intuition. And whether signs are coming from within or a hunch or somebody suggests something, but now, no, I can't attend that because we're rigid with what our routine is.
Right.
I used to do that all the time. People would invite me to do things at a certain time during the day. And I would think, oh, no, I better not, because I just got into the habit of doing things at certain times during the day to the point where I'm missing out. And that's self-will.
Yeah.
That's not being open for the realization of God's will for us. Because every great thing that came into my life, 9 times out of 10, came because I said yes and broke out of what was then my routine to do something I would have otherwise not done at that time or during that or on that day. I could go through many experiences. I'm sure you could too, if you think about it. You know?
Yep.
How you met people that became longtime friends, or how you ended up in the job that you really enjoyed, or a situation that occurred that was very beneficial to you, your family, or maybe through you for somebody else, and they've never forgotten that.
Right.
It always comes when we're in this place of humility and we're just going with the flow. So here it says, humility prepares us for the realization of God's will for us. It shows us the benefits we gain from doing away with self-will. We finally understand how this self-will has actually contributed to our distress. And then from 1 Peter, and this is the big relief. 1 Peter, it says, humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. He giveth grace to be humble, meaning I have to choose to believe that prayers really work.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to choose to believe that I can rely with faith on the fact that God is bringing about the good fortune I desire.
Yeah.
That I don't have to make it happen.
Yes.
That's what 1 Peter means. So then I have the grace to be humble, because I'm not thinking I have to do it, like Ed said, all on my own. I got to make it happen.
Right.
And it's this humility. There's a great, if you folks can find this, it's by a guy who was the secretary of Mary Baker Eddy. His last name was Dickey.
Oh, yeah.
Rod knows this one. He's the one who
William
shared the reading with me. You could find this reading. I highly recommend it. You could find it actually being read. The audio, I'm sure, is on YouTube, and it's called. Is it F.A. Dickey? It's called. That's the author, Dickey, and the reading is
Adam H. Dickey, right?
What is it?
Adam H. Dickey.
Adam H. Dickey, and it's God's Law of Adjustment.
Oh, wow.
It is such a great thing to read, because it's talking about the fact that success is always had when we let go completely, abandoning ourselves completely to know that God is caring for everything, and we don't have to get our conflicting ideas of how or when or why.
Yes.
And whenever we surrender to that, God's law of adjustment is now free, because we're not congested. We're not cutting off that channel with fear, doubt, worry, concern. God's law of adjustment can come through. If it's a healing we need, it'll heal our body.
Yes.
If it's a situation with the courts, it'll flow through us and things will work out better than expected, which had happened to me early on when I started doing this. So I highly recommend Adam H. Dickey, God's Law of Adjustment.
It's funny. I just read Mary Kupferle's in God Will See You Through also has a whole chapter on God's Law of Adjustment that I read
Oh, great.
just a couple of days ago, which I recommend for that. She ends that chapter by saying, trust God and let his law of perfect adjustment make every change smooth, easy, harmonious, and perfect. Let this law make all things right. And the next chapter, I was going to read this paragraph where she says, release, loose, and let go, and let God. Take a few moments now, wherever you are, to do this. Give your mind, your heart, your body, your business, your home, your loved ones, in every situation in your life to God. The God, the good that is. Remember that the Father does the work. The Father is the source of light through which right answers come to each of us. The Father is the giver and the sustainer. And this is something you got to practice for it to become a reality for you. You got to let go of all the struggle, and it's a joyful learning. And that's what I've been going through lately because who was it? I think it was Magnificent Decision, James A. Decker, where he was talking about letting go and letting God, and it's like he was saying until you really practice it and realize it's a decision that we make each day, then you can't it starts to become like, wow, like this is what this, and I've been experiencing that quite a bit lately.
Just this week, I agreed to give a talk.
Yep.
On the symbolism in the Statue of Liberty, based on my book that just came out, Step Out Boldly, The Hidden Meaning of the Statue of Liberty, with the Exchange Club. And after I agreed to do it, I was really excited at first, but then it was like I lost the fire.
Right.
And I thought, and then I read the book again, and I started telling myself horrible stories. This book doesn't even make sense.
Oh, that's the worst feeling, man.
What is this? And but the better part of me knew, Darrell, you're just not reading it in the right frame of mind. Right. How could this be? How could it go from you convinced it's the best thing, and now you can't even figure out what it means? It's like, it made no sense. Yeah. So I had no air in my tires. I was like, I have no oomph. I had no enthusiasm. But you know what I did? Every day I kept going, thank you, God, for inspiring, guiding, and motivating me. The night before, I was still like, well, I'm not going to try to memorize the book, but I don't have the oomph. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And sometimes if we rehearse or practice from that place as a music or whatever we're doing, it's the worst thing to do because we're actually just grinding in the fear.
Yes. Yeah. So the better part of me kept saying, no, you will be, because I kept saying, thank you, God, for inspiring, guiding, and motivating me. I had nothing, but something said, don't worry, it'll come. I didn't totally give up, although I was having these dark nights of the soul, they call it. I get up and I'm doing my routine. And I knew it was like something cheering up. You're going to be inspired. That morning, all of a sudden, I was inspired. The morning of the talk that was going to happen at noon that same day. Right. And I started going, oh my God, I know exactly how to kick this thing off. I know exactly what this is about. I know. And here's the best part, folks, because I do mention the spiritual aspects in that book. And, in secular activities nowadays, it wasn't always like this, but it seems to be. I could be wrong, but in most places I've gone, so this may be totally different than your experience, but here in LA, most of the places I've gone, the notion of bringing up God or, biblical things can be misconstrued as being overly... Right. In a negative way, religious.
Yeah, most people just aren't into God and religion and they get uncomfortable around it. But today, what happened? What happened in this talk here?
So I go there and I'm thinking, okay, I do know how to share this stuff to get the message across in secular arenas where I'm not sure how it's going to be taken. to get the message in. Like Emmett Fox shares, you speak in the vernacular of your audience. You don't go in there, hitting people over the head with something you obviously can tell by the vibe they might not be awake for. But because we live this stuff, we're able to share it at any level necessary. We could share it with kids in a way they would understand because I live it.
Yep.
So I don't have to use my, brain power and big words. And then if it's a different group, I could share it another way. But the best way to share it is unapologetically. Well, guess what happened? First thing they do, this group of about 40 people, men and women from all aspects of life, all have different small businesses, lawyers, doctors, lawnmower repairmen are here, men and women, and they kick it off. One of the ladies does an invocation, which is a prayer for everyone's well-being, the world's well-being, the country's well-being, friends, family, the food, the people working here at the restaurant where the talk was taking place. And I'm like, holy cow, this is fantastic. Then, okay, now we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'm going, holy smokes.
Yes.
And this is in Los Angeles, folks.
Tailor-made for you to give a great talk.
Yes. And after that, they read through their mission. And the first thing on there is to uplift and to inspire greater, elevate the ideas of religion, community. And there was one other thing on there. Steven Tom Thorpe was there actually as a guest. Might remember. Oh, and politics. To actually pray for all these people in religion and in politics, and to elevate, this within the community.
Very unity.
So yes, it was
early unity.
It was incredible. So you just don't know how things are going to go, and maybe this is one of those experiences where, Darrell, don't give up hope.
That's right.
5 minutes before the miracle.
Yes.
Because trust me, moments during that quagmire of not feeling any enthusiasm for it, which made no sense, where I just felt vapid and vague, I had to keep reminding myself of that, because the idea came up, I could just call in and tell them I can't make it.
Of course.
But I knew there
Yeah.
was something in me that knew that I may not be ready, but I had the humility to know, but my intuition will be.
Yes.
The God in me will wake up.
Yeah, we're trying to get our subconscious mind to cough up the goods. We know. We've done it a million times.
I know.
That's the worst thing, is if I'm playing guitar and I go, oh God, I can't feel my fingers. I better relearn how to play guitar.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. In fact, it's funny because I wrote down this morning before the show, and I'll try to move quickly here to get to Steven Tom Thorpe, which is that when I'm worried, those thoughts are not big enough to be vessels for what God has in store to come through. Literally, those thoughts are just too small to be a vessel for God's good to come into my life the way it wants to come into my life, and it always wants to come in big ways.
That's so good.
Right? And that's what I realized. That's a principle that I can rely on to guide me through everything, is that God has a big plan. If my plan is too small, have the humility to open up. Because first I realized, first of all, the problems I thought I had literally turn out that they're not real. Don't take action, Ed, when you think you do not have any problems. Try letting go of the whole thing and recognize. And then I start to recognize my divine reality. That allows me to recognize other people's divine reality. Now, instead of going someone with my hat in my hand to ask them for forgiveness or hope they're going to see it my way, I actually listen to them, and I end up ministering, blessing them, instead of worrying about anything about what they think of me. I was two kids. One came back from a long vacation, and he was he's the type of person, sometimes he'll get super upset or loud in the past and dysregulated, and he often there's a guy who works with him, and then another student who's been working 3 weeks to earn something, and he's been working his tail off to get this thing he wanted to earn. And so I'm super excited. It's Wednesday, and I'm telling so there's two guys that fill this position, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. And we got this plan. Tomorrow, like, we're going to tell him you got to earn, the guy who was going to earn something needed like a perfect score. Like, he gets points for doing certain things,
Right.
and it's working. It's like a very encouraging thing. So we're like, we got to tell him he's going to have 2 great days to earn this. And, it's going to be great because then we can, it'll kind of just help him step up, like,
Yes.
Otherwise you'll have to wait another week or whatever. And then the other kid, like I said, he had come back from vacation. And so anyway, the next day I get there after having these conversations, getting excited. There's no one there. There's both of the guys that are in that position are absent. And so now, and already stuff is starting to happen with those 2 kids. And I'm thinking, I can't be up there all day. I got another job to do. And it wasn't like, it's just I like doing it, and I thought we had this perfect plan, but I didn't know what to do. So instead of like, woe is me, because in that teaching environment, it can be, woe is me, not enough funds, or why. Instead, I went straight to my car. I listened to my affirmations. I didn't even try to figure it out. By practicing enough, I just turned it over to God. All those
That's
thoughts.
humility, not trying to figure it out. In moments like that when we think we should rehearse.
Exactly. And it was faith the size of a mustard seed. I still had kind of loud voices going off, but the most amazing thing happened. First, I texted the teacher of those kids, and I was just honest with him in a way I hadn't been in the past. I was just like, my brain is breaking. I thought we had this plan, and then I just made a laughing face. Just laughed it off. And then I went into the office singing the song from Frozen, Let It Go, Let It Go. And I was just laughing to like let go of the steam that you were talking about. And other people started singing along. Oh, you're singing. This is great. So Ivy started becoming like a light unto the world, and the most amazing thing happened. The guy who sometimes has issues with getting upset, and he got upset about something in the morning, but there was no one there to kind of work with him. He handled it on his own. All the stuff we've been teaching him, he used.
Wow.
And he had the best day he's ever had. The other kid who was working to earn something, he also had the 2 best days he's ever had without anyone there. And it was like,
that's what the prayer power. Because you didn't have to do anything except let God's law of adjustment work.
And it's such a good example. Like, we did all this stuff to help these kids, but then we sometimes forget that then we got to turn it over to God and let them demonstrate. And what do you know? Those 2 kids demonstrated. Like, one kid earned his card. He was earning like a gift card and it was so sweet. He wanted to give it to his brother of all things. So he earned that. The other kid, I got to tell the whole family, and like, that, you're not going to believe how well your son did. He's doing things that we never thought he'd be able to do. So that thing that looked like, I'm telling you, in the past, is like, this is like, oh, this is the breaking point. Instead, I'm not. That's not true. I had the humility to let that go, and it turned into a blessing.
But it's also showing divine order where we think it's a disaster. Because the whole thing, he would have never learned how to do that on his own.
Right.
That other kid wouldn't have been self-motivated to earn his thing if those 2 other teachers showed up.
Yes.
Do you understand? Like,
yes.
Everyone had to be knocked out.
Yes.
And allow God to work.
Yeah.
Even you.
Yes.
To where you were so overwhelmed that you just said, fuck it, I can't do anything, which is great. Because that's the best time when we're so far over our heads.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I can't deal with this. So God, you're going to have to deal with this.
Right.
And then you get to look back and go, holy shit, this whole thing was divinely orchestrated.
You're so right.
Because if everyone was there, that kid wouldn't have had the experience. Neither one of them.
That's right. And it was exactly what Scovel Shin said, which is my intuitive mind often sends us in a direction that my reasoning mind wanted to rebel against.
Yes, right? Yes. And it's incredible.
Here's a good tool, and we'll do our breaths, and we'll bring Steven in. From Fear Not, Messages of Assurance by Martha Smock. I was telling Darrell, I'm learning how to use denials more and more to say. And she says, in every experience in life, we have to take our stand. We have to have the courage to say to fear, I do not believe in you. We have to have faith to affirm that we believe in God and God's power and God's goodness. I mean, Think about that. Being at work, things don't look, or wherever you are, being willing to sit down and go, you know what, fear? I just don't believe in you. I believe in God's power and goodness. And it says, let us remember that with God, all things are possible, and that God's power working through us strengthens and heals our bodies, enriches and blesses our affairs. Like enriches and blesses our affairs. That's not just words. Our affairs get richer and blessed and harmonizes and transforms our life. She says, to anything less than God or good, let us say fearlessly, I do not believe in you. And then, what a great tool, right? All right. Thank the Patreon people.
Thank you. Like this show. Press subscribe.
Yeah, go to patreon.com/funniest thing. Give $3 a month, $5. It's good for you to give to the things that bless you.
Yes, if you're being blessed by this show in any way, please consider making a donation, because it really does go to the work that Ed and I put into the show and all the things that go into the show behind the scenes that none of you are aware of, but that Ed and I have been gratefully doing on our own. But it's great to have you guys join us in that.
If you want to send us anything, Funniest Thing Mailbox, P.O. Box 1312, Culver City, California, 90232. We want to thank our chief engineer, Jeff Comfort, each week.
He takes us right into the comfort zone.
Yeah. Also, I just want to give that quick shout out to, who was it? Kat Hurst on a Patreon person. What do you call it? Contributor.
Yes.
Because you can listen. We do the Tuesday Prosperity Zoom. You can listen to it, watch it later. But she said, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. I feel so not alone. I have the same thoughts as you so often. You are both amazing and inspiring. So thank you.
Thank you.
And then I know that Susan Sly said, great show. Muchas gracias to the You Have the Divine Right of Way with Jim Gaither. If you haven't listened, please do.
Yes, that was a great episode. And now we have three breaths.
So chic. I can't get over it.
These are chic breaths.
Okay, let's take a deep breath, Jeremiah. Happy days are here again. The time is right for making friends.
Happy days are here again. The time is right for making friends. Happy days are here again.
The time is right for making friends.
Good times.
These are the good times. Coming up next, who do we have?
We're going to have a really good time with our new guest.
Actor Steven Tom Thorpe, sharing how putting all of this stuff into practice has brought incredible opportunities and enables him to trust his untried capacity with today's reading, A New Start. Thank you for listening to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed, live from Middle School Studios in beautiful downtown Culver City, the heart of screen land.
Now Steven can unmute.
You're going to go tinkle? Go for it.
All right.
And cut. Great job, you guys.
Nice.
Where's your face?
We have a professional producer on hand today.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he's been working in TV production. He's been we're going to hear a lot. He's been actually working as a ranch hand. And
Union of Santa Barbara just wrapped up as the AV, producer of the show. Amazing.
Yeah.
Let's see your face there, shall we? I've just seen a face I can't forget. Nice.
How long do you guys take?
What's that?
How long do you guys take?
What time you need to leave?
Oh, no, I mean like this break.
Oh, just a couple minutes. We usually tinkle. If you have to go, it's a good time to do it. Your camera, you got a lot of headroom above you. Is that intentional?
I know. I did it very intentionally, yes.
Okay. It looks like your head is seated on a little platter. It's dancing on the screen. There you go. That's
a little bit.
All right, good. Yeah, he's just gonna tinkle. I'll probably tinkle real quick, but thanks for your patience, man.
No, that was great. Wow, so much to digest.
That's the thing, man. We never know how we aim for certain segment length, but now that we're on freewheeling at Middle School Studios, we just never know exactly where we're gonna land.
That's great.
Thank you.
You guys are on a roll. You guys are on fire.
I feel the same way, man. That's why I love this show, because the spirit starts speaking, and I say it many times, but having a partner where his ideas inspire mine, and it goes back and forth. Really makes it so much more interesting, exciting, and interesting in a way. I mean, like excitingly interesting, enthusiastically. My interest is engaged. It's awesome.
I see it.
Yeah, man.
It is awesome.
Awesome,
I guess,
awesome.
I guess I'll go use the restroom as
Yeah,
well.
do it up, and we'll be right back to everyone. I'll sit here and entertain the crowd with a little song and dance.
Yeah. Song and dance, man.
Yes, song and dance, man, indeed. Thank you for everyone out in YouTube Live land that's with us today. Hopefully you're enjoying the show. I'm going to write a little something in the chat. Let's see what this is. Oh, yeah. Man, it's a beautiful day. I surfed before I came. We got our pizza. The sun's peeking through the clouds right now like a nice magnifying glass. It's wonderful. All right. I'll be right back. Darrell's coming back. Steven just went to use the restroom real quick as well. Everyone on YouTube Live is happy.
Oh, good. I thought I had water. I do. Oh, whoa. Fell back into my seat. If any of you attended Create Your Best Life via journaling, you can see I just started my March 2025. I lucked out this month. It started at the beginning. My last journal ended right on the last day of last month. And remember, we put a reward in the front. And after my morning routine, I write inspired notes to myself. New day, new month, new life, new ideas. I must think bigger, not smaller.
Yes.
New. I am renewed now. Magic happens when I think big.
Big.
Today I surrender to God's care and divine inspiration. I allow God's law of adjustment to go to work through me and in all my affairs as I simply, and then I have my little best attempt at what God's will is for me today.
That is so good, man.
So we're just waiting for Steven.
It's so crazy that I just was reading about the law of adjustment and God will see you through.
I know.
She says, where's a quick something? Remind yourself often, God's law of perfect adjustment is now making every change smooth, easy, and harmonious. There is no conflict, no resistance. This is the crazy thing. When we think we're in a conflict with someone, if we simply let it go and affirm there is no conflict, no resistance, things happen. Then we become in agreement with God.
Read that at the opening of the show. That's so good.
Okay. Great.
Otherwise, it won't be on the audio section.
Yeah, true. Let's bring it in, shall we? You guys ready?
Yeah. Hey.
All right. Welcome back to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed. Time for the second segment with one of my favorite truth teachers, Steven Tom Thorpe. Good morning. Good day to you, sir. How are you?
Doing great.
It's really 1:52 here, so we're not even close to morning, but I'm glad you're with us. On the break, I just started reading a little bit more of God's Law of Adjustment from Mary Kupferle. So I just want to read what I just read. She says, remind yourself often, God's law of perfect adjustment is now making every change smooth, easy, and harmonious. There is no conflict and no resistance. My whole being is in agreement with God. His goodness makes all adjustment of mind, body, and affairs orderly and perfect.
Oh, that is so good.
She says there's no necessity for trying mental, emotional, or physical reactions and responses to outer moves and changes. God's law of adjustment stands ready to bless, regulate, balance, and maintain every phase of your being. That's so good, man. That's so good. I've been learning a lot about that when people, including with people who are in front of us doing things that we don't agree with or like. I'm learning to just bless it. And there's a part of me, I should do something. I should run away. I should do that. Just bless it. And all of a sudden I realize I didn't have anything to do. Just bless it. So, how are you, Stephen Tom Thorpe?
Oh man, I am just really enjoying listening to you guys. You guys are really on fire today.
Well, what
Yes,
are
I
some of
agree.
the things that might have inspired you, or did you have something prepared you wanted to share?
So much. So
Perfect,
much.
man.
Oh man, everything went together with today's readings. Um, where do I begin? That's where I was like, how do I? Oh, I'll just read something. So in the same book that you guys brought, that Darrell brought up on February 29th, God grant me. Today's actually, I think, goes perfect with it because we're talking about humility and following through on inspiration. Well,
Yes.
first of all, I'm really proud of myself because I try to emulate you guys, and with coming up with affirmations that you guys come up with on your own that work for you. So this affirmation kind of popped in my head, and I wrote it down. It's rhyme because we've been recently talking about the power of rhyme and song and how it has such a powerful impact on our subconscious
Yes.
mind. And so this rhyme has been really getting me excited about my life. It's God, you are me, and I am you. Guide me the way, and I follow through.
Wow.
God, you are me, and I am you. Guide me the way, and I follow through.
Yes.
That's
So,
great.
um, that's been like a very big affirmation for me recently. That's been helping me to get excited about acting on divine inspiration. And you're talking about being open to it, and humility is such a key ingredient. And today's March 1st reading really, and God grant me, really stood out to me. It's let's cut right to the heart of the matter. We get in trouble if we try to run our own lives.
Yeah.
Our ego starts to mess things up. We try to control things we can't control. We think we are smarter than we are. We start to think we can run things just fine by ourselves. What's the end product? We end up alone, spiritually and sometimes physically, and in trouble. What we need to do is let the care of our higher power run our life. We can use care as a guide because care is what a higher power is all about.
Ah.
When we put care into action, we get healing love as a result. So let's put our egos aside and ask our higher power to help us do the next right thing. And the prayer for the day is higher power or God, I've made a decision. I am yours to do with as you want. I know that you will guide my life with care.
Yeah.
And so, you know, as I'm reading these books and, I'm finding out that, if we were divinely created, just like Emmett Fox says, a cow doesn't produce a colt. So then if we are divinely created by God, then we have qualities and aspects of God. We come from God. And so what is God always constantly doing? It's the universe, this spiritual universe, the spirit, whatever you want to call it, higher power, God, is always creating, is always harmonizing, is always caring for each and every one of us. So what can I do to be a part of that? And so when I met Darrell, I'm very grateful that Darrell put this thought process. He suggested it to me because when I met him, I was pretty selfish and self-centered. Uh, I was all about me and getting what I wanted, and I thought that reading described me. I thought I had life. I thought I was smarter than I was. I thought, I could run things fine just by myself. I had everything under control. I was the master of my own universe, and but I was miserable. And when I met Darrell, he said, "Why don't you try thinking of others? Why don't you try how to meet their needs or try to add to their life? Put yourself in other people's shoes and see how you could be a blessing to them." And so it took a while, but it's become now a working part of my mind. because I've been sincerely trying to practice it. And a natural result, well, first of all, let me say how Darrell made it clear for me. He said, because I was telling him, I'm when I met him, he was telling him, think of others. Like, I do. I try to be nice and kind to the people, but he got it out of me that the truth was I was doing it so I could get what I wanted. There was the love I was giving was conditional.
Mm.
I wouldn't give it if I thought I couldn't get anything out of it. So the thing that changed everything is unconditional love.
Yeah.
Unconditional love. And so a result of that, the spiritual consequence of that, and I don't do it for this reason because I've done it because, and like we read all these books and it says, if it feels good, then it's true. And if it feels bad, it's not true. And so every time I do something good unconditionally, I feel really good about myself. I feel so good about myself. And so now I do it for that reason. But a spiritual consequence of giving unconditional love is I get that back. And it comes in blessings that I don't even know of. And that's where it comes, God's miracles is wonders to perform. We know not of, or I forget, I'm butchering that quote, but it comes back to me in monetary blessings. Uh, it comes back to me in opportunities, more opportunities to do what I want, to do what I desire to do with my life. Amazing coincidences, big happy surprises, and basically days filled where I am really content with my life and I get to really soak up how amazing this world is.
Mm-hmm.
Like being able to have a moment uh, of just like pure gratitude. And that's another thing too that I've read is that when I'm in a state of gratitude, it really helps me. That's basically how to get humble. When I'm trying to get, and I'm usually trying to get because I'm not grateful. It's like, I'm not getting what I want. How can I, why? But when I'm grateful, I'm like and that's where the morning routine has become such an integral part of my life. It's because it gets me on the wavelength of God's got it all handled.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't need to kick and bite and grab and claw my way to get what I want. God's handling it. All I got to focus on is being God's ambassador of love. And that's how I got into riding a horse. Darrell was bringing it up. I ride a horse and take care of a horse twice a week for free when I was previously paying $92 for 45 minutes to ride.
You're basically like a horse owner.
Basically own a horse. I
Well,
co-own a
yeah,
horse.
without any of the
I don't have to pay any.
expenses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's all come about from trying to live this way of life. Because when you live this way of life, you attract others who also live this way of life into your life.
Mm-hmm.
So I was paying, I don't know if did I tell this story the last time I was on the show?
I can't remember.
I tried to make time to listen to the last time just so I could make sure what I didn't.
Well,
I don't think you ever mentioned it before.
it's worth sharing.
So I was paying, oh man, this is gonna be a long story, Darrell. Did you tell you see Darrell's hat? He's got a car, he's got my Zoom thing is
Yes, yes.
hovering. So that's one of his illustrations. That's some cars that he embroidered onto a hat. That's one of his illustrations that he did with his paint marker. And that was originally on paper. But
Yes.
he transferred it to a hat. So I think the first one he ever did was of a horse. He
Right.
transferred a horse to a hat. And at that time I was looking into horse riding lessons because I'm an actor and I started to get auditions that had a requirement because the westerns are back, all these TV shows and movies, and the requirement was the actor must have horse riding experience. And so I
Right.
would see these auditions and I would go, oh, I want to do it, but I couldn't because I didn't have any of that in my resume. So I started to look into horse riding lessons. And, I did the footwork, looked into it, and it was a little hard. It was expensive. I ran into several roadblocks. And instead of obsessing about it, I let it go. And shortly after, I'm at an art book fair.
But wait, you let it go, but you weren't discouraged. You weren't
I was,
like,
yeah,
oh, screw it, then I'm never going to do it. You let
no, yeah.
go of,
I let go, letting that, knowing that God is going to make it happen
yes,
in the perfect way at the perfect time. Thank
yes.
you for reminding me. Yes. This is the practice that really has saved my life.
Yeah,
And
because in the past, most of us at that point, if we're not practicing this idea of humility we're talking about, we just say, oh, screw it, then it's not meant to be.
we
And
give
Right.
up.
yeah, we give up in a negative way, which isn't really giving up. We're actually putting our foot down in
It's
our
like, it's
own
not going to
path.
happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not going to happen. Oh,
Right.
well, I'm going to quit and deprive myself of moving in the direction of my heart's desires.
Right.
So, and that's another thing too I wanted to say was that thinking of others really helps for me to
Yes.
let go of
Yeah.
my wanting. And when is it going to happen? I want it now. I want it now.
Right. Right.
And so when I feel that way, it feels so bad. But thinking of like, how can I be a blessing to others? Oh, I got like some candies that I think so and so would enjoy. I'm gonna make it a point, and I'm gonna write it in my silly little journal on my to-do list
Yes.
to give those candies to that person.
Yes.
Makes
Yes.
me feel so good to do it.
Yep.
And then by me focusing on that, it gives God time and the space to work and arrange things on the unseen plane.
That's great. Yep.
So shortly after that, Darrell and I and Ed were at an art book festival in downtown LA, of all places. And there was a lot going on, but Darrell gravitated towards this one booth because the books there Darrell enjoyed, and the girl there had a very positive disposition. So he gravitated toward her. Ed and I were at another booth.
Hmm.
Something was happening. Ed and I were not feeling good. We were like being what's it called, proselytized about something.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because the art looked like it was going to be cool, but the spirit of it was not what we thought it was going to be. It was about Chicago or something. And you had a connection with it, but it was, I don't know, something about it. Yeah, it just felt like headpan, kind of like condescending. It just wasn't the spirit we were looking for in that moment.
Exactly. So luckily Darrell comes out of nowhere
Yeah,
because,
I remember
hey,
this.
Steven,
Yes.
Steven, come over here. And I'm like, what? So while Ed and I were talking to these people, Darrell was talking to the girl who ran the booth, and she noticed his hat. He was wearing the horse hat.
Yes.
She goes, I love horses. I ride horses once a week. I'm learning how to ride. Darrell goes, really? My friend's trying to learn and get a
Uh-huh.
play and find a place to learn. So that's when Darrell comes and grabs us. I meet the girl. She gives me the phone number. In less than a month, I'm taking horse riding lessons
Yeah.
Hmm.
From that girl's trainer.
from that girl's trainer. So I had a personal referral, and it felt just right, and it was exactly what I needed.
It was close by. It was affordable. It didn't take you out of your way from your job that you had to go to after the lesson. It was
Yep.
incredible. It was just so
It
perfect.
was so perfect. And it was just what I needed because the way that this lady teaches got me started riding the horses in a very beginner like fashion. So I was able to really get the foundation set up,
Yes.
approaching a horse and for riding a horse. But after about a year of paying $92 once a week, it got a little bit above my budget, and I had to stop. I had to stop going. But while I was going to that ranch and learning how to ride, I met some I met the some other workers at the ranch as well as some other people who own horses, who basically what happens at these ranches is you pay rent and you get to board your horse there, and you pay a certain fee, and then they get fed like twice a day. But basically you have to do all the work your own if you want to, train it, exercise it, uh, do everything on your own for that. But it's basically a holding place for the horse. So I met a guy named Felix there, and I'm Mexican and speak fluent Spanish, and we became fast friends. And he's got a horse there named El Gato. And every time I'd go there, we would just be talking, and we would just be sharing stories, and just basically becoming friends.
Yeah, there
And
was nothing in it for you. You weren't thinking anything other than, wow, I get to speak Mexican, and this
Spanish.
guy's a really nice guy, and yeah, Spanish, and this guy's a really nice guy.
Yeah, yeah.
He's older than me. He's, because he's like older than me even.
Right, a nice natural connection.
Yeah, it was just
Nice.
it wasn't like I'm gonna kiss somebody's butt for something. There was nothing there in your
Yeah,
mind. It was unconditional.
it was unconditional. And I was really enjoying learning about my heritage because he comes from this,
Yes.
because he comes almost exactly from the same part of Mexico as my mother's family's from. So it was like, wow. And I'm learning all about, stuff that I've heard about from when I was a little kid. And so we became friends. I quit going to the ranch because I stopped taking lessons. And around that time, and so I stopped seeing my friends at that ranch. So then around that time, I was ordering cowboy boots, and it took a little learning curve to know how to buy boots. But basically, I bought a pair of boots and I wore them, and they ended up stretching and not being the size for me. So I had this expensive pair of cowboy boots that I'm not going to be able to wear because I didn't know how to buy a pair of cowboy boots. So
Right.
the thought came into my mind because every morning I'm like, how can I be a blessing to others? How can I be a blessing to others? And then the thought came to mind. I think the size is going to fit Felix. I could
Wow.
just give these boots to Felix. And so I made a special trip all the way out there, hoping he would be there. I didn't have his contact information. I kind of went out there on a whim, but I had a feeling he was going to be there. And that's where it's like divine inspiration.
Yes.
Right.
Feels good. There's no doubt here. I mean, there is my reasoning mind had the doubts,
Right.
but the inside, like, this is gonna be so much fun. He's
Yes.
there. He's gonna be there. I go up, I show up, he's there, he's in the middle of working. I didn't bring the boots yet. I left them in the car because I didn't know if he was there. So I'm walking up, I finally see he's like in a stall. I'm like, oh shit, he's here. I mean, oh crap. I mean, oh yes, he's here. Sorry. So he's working, and I start talking to, hey, Felix. And then there's another guy there, Beto, and we're talking. He goes, hey, why haven't we seen you? What's wrong? What happened? How are your lessons? And I said, well, I had to quit, and I was honest. I was like, I was kind of an idiot. I didn't mind my budget, and I got a little bit of debt, and I got to pay it off, and and so he was just like, oh, that's fine. Just pay your bills, and in the meantime, you come here and you ride my horse, and I'll teach you how to ride.
Wow.
And you didn't even give him the boots
I
yet.
didn't give him the boots yet. So then I was like, oh, wait, I got something for you. And I gave him the boots, and the boots fit him perfectly.
Wow.
And he got like teary eyed. He was like, you just gave me a gift that's going to last because these cowboy boots, like they're made out of leather, they last a lifetime.
Wow.
Because you just gave me a gift that's going to last my lifetime. And wow, I was not expecting this. I said, I wasn't, thank you. I wasn't expecting you to offer me to ride your horse. And he's like, oh, no, no, come on. And so then I started going there once a week. It's transformed into twice a week. And he's basically trained me from the bottom up on how to, like, now I'm like at expert level, like how to put on the saddle, how to clean the hooves,
Wow.
how to properly groom El Gato, how to how to muck the stall, how to, and then at the same time, I'm going there to help him, um, like attach special brackets so that you could tie up the horse. And then he's teaching me all the ins and outs on like,
Wow.
he takes the time to explain to me why he does something a certain way. So that he sees, yeah, if I tie it around his muzzle like this, because look, if I have it on this side, look at what can happen. And he shows the danger. And it's like, oh, okay. And so it's like I'm learning really, like I'm getting like really professional. This guy is 75 and he's still riding horses and still like this is his 14th horse that he's trained for the Mexican rodeo. It's called La Charreria.
Wow.
And so this is his 34th horse in general that he's owned. And so all this came about for me just having these simple little ideas, and like you guys have been talking about, just acting on divine inspiration and trusting that God is working things out. I mean, that's how I got the job up at Unity of Santa Barbara. And I've been working there for about, I don't know, 2.5 years. And I got to learn so much at that job. And that all came about from just me doing little silly videos with Darrell and him sharing what's composition. I know my composition today isn't the best with headroom, but I did it on purpose because my apartment's a little bit messy down there.
Mm-hmm.
But so I got to have real life experience working in production for 2.5 years.
Yes.
And now that really helped me out with my, oh yeah, that was around the time I needed extra money to pay for those horse riding lessons.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So because I work a 9 to 5 job, or 9 to 5. It's a 9 to 5, but it's actually night. So it's a full-time night job Monday through Friday that I've been working, that also came about from me trusting in God. And basically, if something's not feeling right, you got to say no. And you can't live in fear and go, yeah, but I got to make my money and I got to make sure. And so, like with Unity of Santa Barbara, it started going in a direction that I didn't agree with, didn't feel good anymore. So I put in a 2 week notice. And I was excited to see what wonderful opportunity God was going to drop in my lap. 2 days later, the acting school I went to reached out to me and said, "Hey, Steven, would you be interested in any painting work, painting the studio?" So immediately, I got a response from the universe saying, "You're taken care of. You made the right decision. We're gonna offset your income,
And it was for this, was it the same amount per hour
$5 less
at the school?
at the school." Yeah,
But
so
it's also,
around the same,
but
but I
wait,
also got more
but
hours.
but it's also 90,
Oh,
90 miles closer.
that's right. I had to pay gas.
You're not driving
That's
nearly
true.
200 miles round trip.
That's true. So there you go. So if anything, if we really do the math,
Yeah,
It's
no
probably
gas,
more
more
money.
hours. Yeah, definitely more money without that drive for
Yeah.
sure.
so less than 2 weeks after that, my boss calls me
This is the other job.
at the law office job that I worked
Yeah.
nights at Monday through Friday, and he goes, "Oh, Steven, so I'm going to sell the practice, and I'm going to sell it to another lawyer, and I don't know if he's going to have a position for you at night. So basically telling me you probably will be out of a job in about 3 weeks." So instead of panicking, I was like, "Oh wow!" And then I remembered what happened with Darrell, with him and Lori. I think Darrell was
Yeah.
laid off
Yeah. And then less
shortly
than
after.
three weeks later, so was Lori.
Right.
And it
And I
turned
thought,
out to be the best thing for both of us.
yeah, and it goes back to when our world shakes, it's usually for a good reason. When
Yeah.
everything seems to be
Yes.
reforming and these huge changes are happening, and it might seem negative. Luckily, I have the morning routine to rely on and to remind myself. And I read these things every morning, and it reminds me this is good. This
Yes.
is not bad.
Yes.
Yes.
Probably going to end up in everybody's highest favor.
And it does.
And
Yep.
it does. And it does. I've already secured a job with Kathy Norman, Reverend Kathy Norman. I'll be helping her continuing Nancy Norman's ministry.
Yes.
So that's also
Super exciting.
supplemented. And Darrell knows about this because I keep in contact with him. But this past week, every other day, my agent has been getting in contact with me saying, "Oh, I need you to upload this special headshot because I'm gonna send it in. Oh, I need you to upload that dramatic reel of yours to this website because I'm gonna use it." So it's like
Oh, and you also
Yes.
my
uploaded,
agent's working double time. I don't know, like
Nice.
well, you also uploaded your expert horse riding skills video where you're, doing fast
galloping.
galloping and controlling and different
Yeah,
things with the horse
yeah,
up
'cause-
to your
Amazing.
acting
Yes.
and that came out of
agent.
a. How do you think of these things? Felix, my friend who owns the horse, his hands, because it's been 70 years of like rope tying, and he worked at a chroming factory for most of his life.
So
And
you wear down your fingers to nothing, to nubs. I mean, you can't grab
no,
anymore.
but his hands, like,
No, I know
they're kind of, he gets cramps a lot.
yeah, they're arthritic.
Yeah. And but so it's been hard for me because I've been wanting to get footage of myself riding the horse. I've gotten footage of him riding the horse, and I made an awesome video of him, and he loved it, and his family loved it. And but I've been trying to give him my phone to hold to take video,
Right.
and he couldn't do it. He'd be pushing buttons, and so
Sure.
one day, do I have it? It's in the car. One day, I did my morning routine, and right to within a foot of me, I had, it's like this. It's like a little stand that I use to film things. It
Right.
holds the phone.
So for those listening, it's like
A
a
tripod.
monopod.
A
It's like a monopod or a C stand or a tripod.
Yeah, where you can put your phone has a little holder on top, and then you could hold or set up the stand. I'm just saying that for the people who are
Thank you.
listening and can't see it.
Yeah, so it's a way to prop up a phone or a recording device, and set it up so that you could just be there stationary filming and recording. And because one day Darrell had a hunch to go down a certain block near his house, we found a yard sale. And at that yard sale, this is where it's like, you gotta act,
Hunches.
you gotta act on these hunches, because if he didn't act on that hunch, and I happened to be with him at the time, we wouldn't have found this special pistol grip holder thing that attaches to any camera. And so I had that on top of my tripod that I was using. And I looked at it and I go, huh, that would be easy for Felix to hold. Yeah, but it's attached
Nice.
to this tall tripod thing with legs. And I said, well, does it detach? So I started to unscrew it, and it perfectly unscrewed. And so that's how I was able to show Felix, and I was like, hey, you can hold it easily like a pistol grip.
Yeah.
You could film me. And that's how I got that footage.
And the footage is awesome. I mean, Felix, for being an inexperienced cameraman, I saw the footage yesterday. It's perfect. It's perfect.
Amazing.
You can't make this stuff up.
No, it's just like if you and Ed hadn't gone with me to the art book fair, if I didn't make that embroidered hat, none of this would have happened.
It's
It's
all
like
these things.
we
Yeah.
all, yeah, as long as we're saying yes to our inspired ideas, and that doesn't just bless ourselves, it blesses others.
Yes.
Thank God.
And it makes perfect sense because it feels good.
Yeah,
It
it
feels
does.
good. And we got to have the faith and the humility to act on it, because it's so easy. It's so easy to go, no. I'd rather do I'd rather go this safer route.
Yeah, or
Or
no, I'm just gonna go home.
I'm just gonna go home. Or that's kind of, I don't think I can handle that right now. I don't think I can handle that right now. That's one of my biggest things, that prevents me from doing anything, even to like responding to a text.
Yeah,
Something as simple as responding to a text. I could tell myself, like, the fear will come in, and I don't have faith in myself that I will be able to provide a simple response. The fear comes in, you'll be judged for this response, or you're going to say something that you're going to be judged for. And I forget that God's guiding me. And so
yes,
that's my ego. Like it said, it's my ego thinking I can run the show. And thank God
yeah,
I've gotten into this practice to help me catch myself. I don't do it all the time, but I'm getting better and better every day at it, catching myself
Yes.
and going, oh, Steven, look at how you're thinking.
Yeah. That's the key, right? Staying on that inspired, open-minded, in the flow, big thinking wavelength.
And thinking of others. I
Yeah.
think I think thinking of others really has transformed that for me. It's such a
Yeah.
big difference to how I used to think on only
Totally.
me. How can
yeah.
Right.
The constant thought of others. If I'm busy taking care of God's business, then He can be busy taking care of my business.
and it's something as simple as, I don't know if they're on here today, but like Krista and Jillian. When I invite Krista to something, or when I invite Jillian to something, I try to think of what could be useful to them, letting them
Right.
know parking is near the door. I send them the address. I make sure it's easy to click. I try to think, how can I make this the easiest for them when I'm,
Yeah.
instead of just like sending a screenshot of something and go, here it is, figure it out.
Right.
I want to do everything for them. I want to, if something comes up that I think Ed would be interested in, you know, and that's the thing. I used to never think that way. Something would come up that Ed would be interested in, but I would totally not even think about Ed because I'd be
Right.
so focused on how could I get something out of this. But because I've trained my brain now every morning to try to think of others, my brain then that thinks, "Oh, Ed would love this.
Yeah.
Right.
I got to send this to Ed."
Yeah.
And then it feels so good to be a connecting channel.
Yes.
Yeah. Totally. Totally. And it expands our own sense of our own divinity, right? Like, it's part of the reason why in the past I wouldn't do is I think, they may not like, I don't, I would be afraid of what might happen. So, but when I like that. I was thinking people can take that away from this talk is to pay attention to the little inspired ideas, no matter how small they are, for ways they can bless others and watch what starts to happen. Because when you said that about not thinking about ourselves, it made me think when I'm just thinking about myself, it's like, so I'm just using my mind as like a vanity mirror and just looking really closely. And you know how it is when you think you look ugly or something, you look harder and harder and it gets worse and worse. But by opening our mind, it just creates so much more space in our thoughts and so much more light. And that's the way God's working through every one of us. So you want to make sure you're open to all the cast of characters that God might be working through.
Well, you know the metaphor for that condition? That's the character who represents that condition is the evil witch in Snow White.
Oh, wow.
You get so obsessed with yourself,
Right.
you're comparing with others, you're competing with others,
Yeah.
and it just ends up making you sick and
Yeah.
losing everything you desire.
Yes. What was the affirmation you started with that you said you've been using? Because that was so good. I want to hear that again.
God, you are me and I am you. Guide me the way and I follow through.
There you go.
And one thing too, I wanted to share because you guys were talking about earlier about how when you get stuck in, I think it was like the selfish way of trying to get and just always, how can I get this? How do I gotta figure this out? How do I
Yeah.
gotta, make this happen?
Right.
Who do I have to call?
Who do I have to call? My life is a living hell.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so what I wrote down is this in my journal the other day.
My life is a living heaven.
And it
Nice.
flipped it on its head.
Yes.
It just flipped it on.
Yes.
I don't know what it was that I read that made the switch. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna start affirming this. My life is a living heaven.
Yes.
I'm going to buy a Slurpee at 7-Eleven.
My life is a living heaven. I love that. Yeah, what you're describing when you mentioned this word wavelength earlier, and it's when we get on the wavelength of unconditional love, the unconditional love naturally flows back to us. It has to. And by giving it, it becomes a reality. And when then we're on that wavelength, and then it's just a natural give and take. And it's so awesome. It changes everything, doesn't it?
Yes.
And I also like the fact that in your affirmation, we have to remind our subconscious mind, which is like a child, that God is in us, that God is us. Because a lot of us have forgotten that. I forget that all the time. And what could be scarier for a child to think that we're separated from God, that there's somehow a reality in which we're not part of God? That's horrible. That's such a horrible illusion. So I love your affirmation. One more time. Give me that affirmation one more time.
God, you are me and I am you. Guide me the way. Or what was the other one I had? There was another word for show me. Show
Yes,
me the way.
way.
But guide had more of a oomph for me.
Okay.
So I just wanted to share that for the listeners that, when
Pick the words that are meaningful to give
Yeah.
you the boost personally.
yeah, you don't have to just copy.
Right.
If it works, yes, use it.
Yes.
God, so God, like, like I'm addressing God. You are me and I am you. Guide me the way and I follow through.
Yeah. Yep. That's right. Because we got to pull God back into ourselves. There is no God that is not from within. That like this whole, but it's like it's this kind of being able to speak to God, but also know God is within us. Like creating that. I just like the way that you're like connecting it, because that's so important. Because otherwise, we're not workers at a plant. God, we are divine expressions of God creating an amazing life, and that is our job to do it, co-creating an amazing life with God. And that's our only real job. And we're so important in this grand undertaking. And we're so important in a way that helps us see the importance of others also, not in a way that makes us above or below anyone else. We're all so important. That's why I love everything you're saying. The story goes perfectly with this show. Do you have the Joyce Kramer reading, by the way?
Oh, I have it on my phone. As I pull it up,
Yep.
uh, where did it go? Oh yeah, it was in the text. But as I pull it up, I wanted to share that what you just said goes perfectly with this other. I forgot I wrote this down from 3 days ago. If I will only make a place for my higher power within me, my fears will be removed.
Yeah. Yep.
So that one was a good one. I really liked.
Yes.
Darrell and Ed. Okay. Thank you, God, for this new day filled to overflowing with your good. It is a wonderful thing to be able to forget the heartaches, the failures, the sorrows, and the negative attitudes of the past. It is a blessing to be able to forget the shortcomings of yesterday and take a new hold on life. Put out of your mind the memory of any unfortunate experiences. Lay hold of the blessings at hand. Direct your attention to the presence of God's life, love, and power. If you are carrying the weight of the past around with you, resolve to let go of its negative thoughts and happenings. It is by freeing yourself from this burden that you can become responsive and receptive to new blessings. Do not cling to the sorrows of yesterday or live in its glories and successes. In doing this, you fail to see the blessings of today. This is a new day, a time to make a fresh start, and a day filled to overflowing with unlimited good for you. And then the quote from the Bible, it's the book of Revelation, I think, and chapter 21, verse 5. Behold, I make all things new.
Yabba dabba
Yes.
do.
Yes. Man, when I've been sitting at the end of the day lately, I'll do my evening routine. I'll do some, like Darrell suggests, it's just a couple readings, keep it light. But when I remember that God is in me, because sometimes I could be very beat up in myself or feel like whatever. Somehow I'm like disconnected. The world around me is too much. When I just make a place for God within myself, it chemically changes my whole being. When I remember that I'm a vital part of the whole thing, literally the chemicals in my brain change. I feel so what a relief,
Me too.
satisfied. I'm so grateful that we have this stuff to share and and we've all created a space where we sit and just reconnect. Anyone out there who's listening, this isn't just a story about someone who amazing things have happened, that all the amazing things that Steven experienced. Everyone can experience these things and is experiencing these. We're waking up to the reality of these things, and it's just sitting and reading and meditating and saying some affirmative thoughts, writing these things down. Transformative. It's amazing.
Well,
Thank goodness I guess, I don't know, what's the word? Thank goodness I chose to believe it. I was in a place where I would believe it because
Yeah.
they would have said, really? Just doing that is going to
Right.
change everything? I don't
Yes.
believe it, but I decided to give it a shot and then look at what's happening.
Amazing. All right, we have a
story.
story time.
Now that you're riding a horse, we got a story from Felix about you.
Yeah, and thank you, Steven, for sharing such great stuff today. Let's see here. I found this. on the interwebs.
Because, you know, Felix is Mexican, so he always calls you Mr. Steven Tom Thorpe.
I actually had to translate this from Spanish into English.
You mean Meester?
Yes, Mister. So I translated this so we could get this story straight. It said, Mr. Steven Tom Thorpe walked into a mining town bar. He ordered 2 drinks, which he downed slowly. When he was done with his drinks, he paid the bartender, walked out to see that his horse, with all his stuff, was missing. He turned around, walked back into the bar, pulled his guns from his holster, and shot him in the air.
Whichever one of you cow dung stole my horse, better have it back by the time I finish my next drink. Otherwise, I'm going to have to do what I did in Texas. And trust me, I don't ever want to do that again.
He walked back to the bar, got another drink, and slowly drank it. The people in the bar started murmuring, talking amongst themselves, and looking at Steven Tom Thorpe with fear in their eyes. Steven Tom Thorpe finished his drink, walked out, and wouldn't you know, his horse was there where he left it. He got up on it. When the bartender and the bar patrons ran out after him, the bartender said,
Mister, we are sorry for what happened, but please tell us what happened in Texas after someone stole your horse.
Steven Tom Thorpe looked at him and said,
I had to walk home. I never want to do that
again. Oh my God.
All right.
Well, the good news is
happy days are here again.
The time is right for making friends. Let's get together. How about 9:45? Come tomorrow. Let's all do it again. Boys will be boys. Better let them have their toys. Girls will be girls. Cute ponytails and curls. Must put an end to this stress and strife. I think I want to live the sporty life. Good times. These are the good times. Leave your cares behind. These are the good times. Woo! Subscribe, share the show with your friends. Thank you for being a part of Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed and Steven Tom Thorpe. All right.